Hi everyone, I am Shan.
And I am Tam. This is the Real Talk Podcast.
On this podcast, we have some candid conversations between us about love, family, faith, relationships, parenting, work-life balance, and everything in between.
We invite you to not only listen, but interact with us and our guests as we have some real
Talk.
Shan and Tam fam, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Shan and Tam. Today we have a guest for you that we've known for a very long time, really good friend of ours, and she, her family was actually introduced to you listeners through one of our previous guests a few weeks ago, I would say. Sharon Riley, who talked about this young man that she saw at church and fell absolutely in love with. Lucas.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Powerhouse Lucas.
Powerhouse Lucas. And we decided that we would like to introduce Lucas to you for you to learn a little bit more about him, because we certainly do know him and love him. And we're going to do that through his mom, or very good friend and sister, Dee. And, you know, Dee is a woman just walking in wonder.
Yes.
Because in the process of doing that, being a mother, being a wife, being a career woman, all these things.
And a student. She's in school.
Right? She is also mother to this beautiful boy that we want to talk to her about today. So, Dee, welcome to Real
Welcome,
Talk.
sis.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Can you imagine? Dee tell me, so she nervous to talk to me.
Oh, please. Oh, we chat so much
Right? Already, right? But Dee, we welcome you into the space, and our listeners, I'm sure, are going to be thrilled to hear about this journey that you've been on with your family, and in particular, Lucas. Tell us a little bit about Lucas. Introduce him to the world for us.
Well, Lucas is 14, which is unbelievable to me. So I'll tell you how, from then till now. So, when you're pregnant, you have these ultrasounds and I think it was the second ultrasound. Obviously, they realized that something was wrong. And from there, that's when, the journey began because then, you had to have more doctor's appointments, et cetera, for them to try to figure out what was going on. And it was a very interesting journey. Won't get too detailed into it, but there was a lot. You have to advocate for yourself and know what you believe.
Yes.
Because if I had listened to some of these doctors, Lucas would not be here. Because because of the stuff that they were seeing, they pretty much, and they made an appointment with me that I did not ask for. They made it up. They had scheduled an appointment for me to go to the States to have an abortion.
What?
And
but they did that without even discussing it with you?
With no discussion with me. I just went to an appointment one day and they said they had this committee that meets and they look at, different pregnancies and they say this child is not going to have a good quality of life.
Oh,
wow.
wow.
And so their recommendation would be for you to abort. And because of how far I was in the pregnancy, I would have had to go to the States to have the abortion and they could set it up for me. And I was obviously absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
And then so along the way, because I was put on bed rest at a certain point, and I remember 3 times they kept asking me when the child was born, do you want us to resuscitate? And I said yes, of course, the first time, and yet they still asked me 2 or 3 more times, and I was getting annoyed. I was getting upset. Like, why are you asking me this?
Right.
And then when he was born, his creatinine levels, that's to do with your kidneys, was really high. And they're like, you don't think he's going to make it through, because all along the way, they were telling us that he might have neurological problems, that he will never walk. They told us that he's never going to walk. And so when he was born, there's like, oh, these levels are really high. If there's anyone because they had to resuscitate him when he was born. So let's say that. And they were saying, if there's anyone that you want to meet him while he's alive, they should come now. So this was the day after he was born. And some of the doctors were just looking back. If you were in a different mindset, my approach would have been a lot different. But I was younger back then, and so there was a long journey. Being in NICU and all that stuff, and he had a couple operations because they were waiting. He was born, he was 3 pounds, so they had to wait for him to get to 5 pounds to have the operation, his first operation. And it was just a journey. And I remember, I would always go down to the hospital. I was there every day to sit with him in the NICU and to feed him and, just to hold him and, just to be there with him. And there's certain things that stand out from being in that hospital because obviously, I had my faith, and there were certain people that I knew, a couple of people who worked at Sick Kids, and they would come and see him even when I wasn't there and advocate. They would tell the nurses, oh, you need to fix this and that and what, and stuff like that.
Right.
And I remember when Lucas was leaving the NICU, this Muslim doctor, was a female doctor, she came in, and this was not the norm. She came and gave me this gift, and she said to me, she goes, I've watched you come here every day. And so going back in the NICU, when a child is in NICU, a lot of parents didn't come every day. And sometimes the kids would just be there, and the nurses would be calling the parents to say, where are you? Are you going to come in today?
But you were there every day.
I was there every day, and I didn't think, anybody was watching me. But this Muslim doctor, she came over to me and she gave me this gift for my child. And she said, I've watched you. She goes, I can tell that you're a woman of faith. You've been here every day. And she goes, and I could see, you're praying over your child, etc. And she said, I really admire you. And this is a Muslim lady. And she said, God bless you. And, I hope everything works out, etc., etc. So, we brought him home, and I remember being nervous bringing him home because he'd been in the hospital for the first month and a half of his life. And I was wondering, okay, how am I going to do this? And, because there were certain medications he was on, etc. And he still had things that, we had to figure out. But I remember myself and Michael, just praying about it and just saying, what, we are not going to raise our child like something's wrong with him.
Yes,
we are going to make sure he knows that he is
a good quality of life.
Yes,
and he can do anything.
Yeah, he's going to have a great quality of life that God allowed him to be here for a reason, and we're going to raise him as normal, like you can do anything. And so you've seen that.
We have definitely seen that.
Lucas is fierce.
Listen,
he really lived up to that.
Every time I think about him now, there's this real popular song that comes on that you want to roll with the big boys. You know that song? That's Lucas in my head. Yes. He will roll with every and anybody who is 2-3 times his size. This young man has no fear, and he just goes for it. He measures up to everybody, and you almost feel as if you're doing him a disservice if you treat him any differently than anybody else.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, you guys have done an amazing job with instilling that will, spirit, and determination in him.
Kudos to you and Mike, and it just speaks to the whole fact that you spoke life into him, Dee, both you and Mike. And even before he was born, doctors had such a negative thing to say, like to abort and all of that and resuscitate. But you guys continue speaking life over him. And it is so important, for the listeners listening, the importance of speaking life over our children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And so he has, because you guys see him, so people can see he's missing a femur in his leg, so that's what they see. But he also has coarctation of his aortic valve, so he had to have heart surgery, and he will need heart surgery in the future. And he only has one functioning kidney. So there is so many challenges, but you would never know, like you said, when you see this child. And he got to the point where it was like he would never ask for help. So then I had to be like, okay, Lucas, you can ask for help to do something. He's like, no, mommy, I got it.
Right.
Good. You know what I mean? He just has this will about him. He always thinks, and he's strong, he's determined. And I always remind him that I'm super proud of him. I really, truly am.
Yeah.
He's come so far. He has come so far. And I think it's important even if you're raising a child that's an average child.
Right.
I mean, raising a Black child or a Black boy in this country. I believe that it's so important for you to affirm that child.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have their own struggles out in the world. And I just want to prepare. And myself and Michael, we always said that for both our kids, I believe as a parent, I have two jobs. I have to prepare you to be a contributing person in this society,
Right.
contributing to the world, and to help you to have a relationship with God. Those are my two jobs.
Right.
Help you to know God for yourself and to be a contributing member of society. And I believe once you've done those two things, then they will be empowered and they will have the confidence to go out into the world and live their lives.
Real talk.
Real talk. I totally agree. It sounds similar to the thing that I always say about or to my children, that I'm trying to raise you to be good citizens.
Yeah.
Good citizens of this world. And for me, that encompasses a lot, that it's not only just, interacting on a daily basis with people out there too, but for me, it also brings in all levels of community, right? Including the faith aspect of it, right? So you need to be a good citizen in the sense of a faith and believing that there is a higher power, and you need to love people and be good to them regardless of who they are, right? Yeah. So and it's obvious because you stated it from the very beginning that I guess your faith seems to have been that real foundation for you guys to push through all the trials that you've encountered from even before he was born. Would you say that is actually so? Like, what has really carried you?
Yeah, so definitely our faith. Because so I was raised by my grandmother, and you would have a lot of people that would say a lot of stuff, and she would say, people can say whatever they want, but it's when the going gets rough, can they actually live it? So my grandmother's the sort of person, whether it was good or whatever was happening, good or bad, she was always praising and praising the Lord and professing it to everyone. But she would tell me there are some people that they're not going to praise the Lord until they get what they want.
Wow. Real talk. That real talk.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, it was always instilled that, you're gonna pray, and you have to live out your faith. Like, so you can't just read the Bible, study these stories and say, and say the good thing. But when things start going rough, then you're like, oh, why me?
Right.
So it's like, why not you? Because you have that foundation. You know about God. You know what his word says. So who better to be an example to others to say, okay, she can go through this thing and still have that belief. Because at the end of the day, God is her strength, right?
Right.
So when this happened, because we had our first child and everything was fine, and so the second one and things were going wrong, never and for me, we always have our devotion and we sing the songs and everything, and I just feel that you need to know that when you're singing those songs and reading those texts, that you understand what they mean. You don't just say them. It's not just a thing you say.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to live it. And that's what, from myself and my husband, that's what we were doing. So and we said, no matter what happens, whether he if he had died, we knew that God had a plan. He ultimately had the plan.
Wow.
And I truly believe that sometimes when we go through things, it's not just for us, it's to show
for somebody else.
You know what I mean? To help them. And if you tell them about your journey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so one example of this, also I'll tell you, I know I'm all over the place with the story. So one of the appointments that I went to by myself, the doctor wanted to do this exam. And like I said, they already knew that something was wrong. And and I forget the name of the exam. Michael will probably know what it's called. But with the exam they were going to do, it had to put is amniocentesis, I think it's called.
Yes.
The amniocentesis, yes.
And she said because of he already had a low amount of water around him and stuff, it could have caused a miscarriage. And so I said, well, no, I'm not doing that. And she says to me, well, you don't know what it means to have a special needs child. I said, well, he's my child either way. So I am, I'm not doing that. And she goes, no, I think you need to go home and think about this. I said, no, ma'am, I don't need to go home and think about anything. I said, I am not doing it.
Right.
And she goes, no, I'll call you later. I said, you don't need to call me. I said, I'm not doing it.
What? You're direct, are you firm, and you knew what you wanted, which is good, good, Dee.
So that was in the morning, and in the evening, me and Michael just happened to be in the car, and she called me.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, so I gave the phone to Michael, and he's talking to her, and then she starts off with the same thing that, I told your wife to think of, because, you guys don't know what it is to have a special needs child. This is a doctor, and it's like a specialist. And Michael says, he said, Michael's very calm, but firm. And he said, well, my wife told you that we're not doing that test. He goes, because no matter what happens, this is our child, and we will deal with whatever comes.
Right.
And so even that, having to, because, as a woman, I can make the choice about my body, whatever, but to have my partner be in alignment, you know what I mean? So
yes.
We didn't make it. I made the decision right there. I didn't talk to him about it, but because, it was a partnership, right?
Right.
And we were on the same wavelength, and we both read the Bible, and yes, I have my faith, and he has his faith, but he could have been saying, listen, this is too risky. Let's just,
yes.
But because, we had, like I said, we had that firm foundation. We both had our strong belief in what God can do. We've seen the miracles that God can do. We never wavered. We just kept, and we were on the same page. So I think, like I said, having a great love for God, an understanding of how God works. And there were some friends who were very, very supportive, and they were there all along the way. So all of that helped, and of course for people in different churches that were praying for us, etc., that that faith family. So it was a lot, but
you guys got through.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you said that, Dee, because when you were speaking, I was thinking about you and Mike. Because oftentimes you hear or you see, especially when you go through hard situations, especially with children, where they said the death of a child or sickness, illness of a child, it breaks relationships, right? But it seems as if you and Mike really were so connected intimately and spiritually. It appeared to me from what you're saying that you guys were even more solidified in your union, which is so powerful, because you can imagine if the two did that odds on a war. Like it would have been a hot mess. It would have been a hot mess if you had one perspective and he had one perspective, or if you wanted one thing, it couldn't work. And that's why even biblically and spiritually, when they talk about being united and being one, right? Because you guys had such a united front, and you guys were able to pull strength from each other, which is amazing, because you don't find that in every situation, especially when you have a child that's going through such a difficult thing.
And it's funny because we've heard the stats about that, about when families have it, and we've known some couples that have separated or divorced,
of course,
going through stuff like this, because like you said, it's very challenging.
It's hard,
but I think, and I know it's so cliche to say, but you have to keep the lines of communication open.
Right.
You have to, because they're not every day that you're going to be strong. So don't get,
right.
You're not strong every single day. So there are days where you're going to be doubtful, and you're going to be like asking God, like, why is this, still happening? Or when, I believe that God was in all of it, because there were days like I know I was like that, and Michael was able to hold me up and build me up and encourage me, and vice versa. The days that he was just stressed and just weary, I was saying to you, say, "Hun, no, we got to keep going," etc. So you have to keep those lines of communication open, and you have to be honest. Don't say what you think the person wants to hear. Let's be honest and say, you know what, hun, I'm tired. I'm having doubts, etc. today. And it's not that they can fix it.
Right.
because no one can fix everything for you.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to get it out. You just need to vent and be
You
able
just
to
have
say
to
it.
vent in a safe
And,
space.
and
Yeah.
all you can do is pray and say, God, you know what? Help me to know how to help him, how to help my
Yeah.
husband, how
Right.
to renew his strength. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
all you can do. Is you can't fix anything, but you just have to, you know, like, you know, as you're a couple, you're in this together. That you
How
just
do
have to
you,
release that.
yeah, how do you lift each other up at any
Yes, yes.
point when one may be lower than the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering now, I mean, we see who Lucas is and how determined he is, how resilient he has been. But can you tell us a little bit, just give us a little insight into Lucas's own perspective, because I know that he's not shy to talk. So I'm sure that you've had many conversations with him about his, you know, situation from before birth till now. Give us a little insight into Lucas's mind and thoughts and perspective on his own life.
Well, he knows the whole story. He's heard the
Right.
whole story, and he's been he's such a joker, but he knows that God made him how he is. And of
Right.
course he's had the frustrations because of all the surgeries that he's had
Right.
and stuff like that. And sometimes he wishes he had a like he'd say, I wish I had a knee type of thing, because you know he's really good at basketball and that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I know that one for sure.
but
Yeah.
he always knows that there's always some way to get around stuff,
Okay.
right? So
Mhm.
he did wheelchair basketball and he won Rookie of the Year one year, and he was so excited about that.
Right.
But I think his perspective is he is who he is.
Right.
And he just wants people to accept him as he is. And as you guys know, he's not shy
Right.
at all.
Absolutely.
He
Right.
walks into a room and instantly is friends with everybody. And
Yes.
he has such a caring heart.
Mhm.
And you know, even sometimes I will get frustrated with, you know, something or someone. He's like, "Mommy, it's okay." Like, you know,
I know.
yeah, you know, give it, yeah. And he
Yeah.
has such a faith. He has a very strong faith in God.
Oh, that's amazing.
We've, you know, over the years have obviously, you know, done devotions and stuff like that. But I really truly admire, and this is where the father-son relationship comes in.
Okay.
Because Michael would do devotions and stuff with him, and then he tries to do stuff with him, you know, just to let him know that, you know, you're just a normal kid.
Yeah.
So, you know, they'll go over to the track together and play basketball over there, or go walking around the track and, you know, have their daddy son, I don't want to call
Moment.
it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the, you know, so he really truly is a very confident child. He truly is.
He is.
Yeah, he's very, and he does have his own relationship with God, because he
Yeah.
will, you know, we've done devotions and stuff together. He's done the Bible plan where you read the Bible in a year type of thing, and he
Right.
listens to it. Not, you know, obviously he didn't always keep up, but he'll, you know, have his points that he'll make. He always has an opinion. Always has an opinion.
He definitely does.
He does have an opinion.
Yes,
about everything. But as he's getting old, because he's 14 now, so you know, those teenage years.
Mhm.
But he's still honestly a very loving and caring child.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I just hope that, you know, as he gets older, because you know the world tends to just look at you on the outside and make their judgment call.
Yeah.
But I hope that as the world develops, I don't know if that's a good thing, as the world develops and they realize, you know, they normalize that, you know, that there's not everybody's able to do, you know, be able-bodied, if you want to call it that, and they won't
Right.
judge him on his looks, but they will listen to, you know, what he has to say.
Yeah.
And, I hope that, because he doesn't go into the world thinking anyone's going to judge him. So
Yeah.
I still hope that, you know, eventually that will be the reality.
Yes. And that can be the inner sense of them as children.
Yeah.
But you know, think about even us as adults too, where sometimes we can be naive. But I agree with you. Yeah, I think maybe what we're thinking about is an evolution of people, right? Into being better about looking at other people and just accepting them for who they are. Right? So I love that, and I do wish that for him too. And it's not even only for him, just because he has his disability in terms of, you know, those physical aspects and so, but it should apply for anybody. I mean, I just had this conversation with my son just yesterday about the fact that you're looked at, you're judged just based on the color of your skin. Right. And it's a reality. And that's for another episode. But yeah, I really love that you can verbalize that for him, that is your desire, because that's one of the things that I wanted to know too. Like, what would you love for him for the future? Right.
Oh man, so much. Well, right now he loves wrestling. That's his thing. But we've tried to help him because he also loves animation. So Michael has tried to do that with him, you know, help him how to do that. And he likes to be like announcing stuff, like, you know, he has that announcer voice. If you guys, I don't know if you guys have heard him lately, his voice has gotten so much deeper.
Oh no, I haven't spoken to him in a while.
It's a little scary. Yeah. One day myself and Michael were in the store, we had to call home to ask something, and he answered the phone, and I looked at the phone. I was like, "Who is this?
Which man is in my house?"
Right? I looked at Michael, like, "Is this Lucas?" Like, it was so weird, but yeah. But I just hope that you know, anything that he wants to do, I just want him to know that he has the opportunity to do it. Yeah. We live in, you know, 2020. We live in Canada, praise God, where there's the land of opportunity. Yeah. And the world literally is your oyster. So I just hope for him that he doesn't let his physical limitations limit his progress in this world, that he will keep striving for greatness, for, you know, for what, you know, for his purpose. And I feel like even for himself, for his story, for sharing his story with others, I believe will help someone else. And I just want great things for him. I really truly do. And I tell him all the time, you know, I just want great things for you. And I just want you to continue pressing forward and pushing forward, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it.
And that's amazing, Dee. And you guys are doing such an awesome job in terms of speaking life into him, supporting him, and just not putting limits on him, right? And I think that's one of the big things I'm taking from tonight. You not putting any limits on your son.
That's right. Absolutely not. Like, he, you know, he'll tell him he has chores just like everybody else.
He might not like it.
Right. Like anybody else. He doesn't like
everybody else.
Yeah, but he does it, right? And he's just like, I'm telling you, he's just a regular kid. He really is. With all the ups and downs and the emotions that you can imagine that comes with being a teenager. Yeah, he's just like any other kid. And I just tell him all the time, you literally can do anything. So don't let anybody put any limitations on you. You can just go out there and do it.
Well, just do it. I think that is a good segue for us to wrap up on just do it, right? And Dee, you know what? I wish the world will know who you are, because a big part of Lucas's spunk and personality and just his warmth is also from you and Mike, right? Because I can see that genuinely in you, your love for people, right? So thank you again for sharing a bit of your life, your story, your family with us, and your sunshine, Lucas.
I know.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Of course. It's always a pleasure connecting. So Shan and Tam fam, drop us a comment, a like. Check us out on Spotify, on Spreaker. We are here. Let us know of anything that you want us to talk about. Tam and I hope that you'll enjoy this conversation with our sister friend Dee about her wonderful, magnificent son Lucas. So again, Shan and Tam fam, we will connect again. Walk good.
Take care.
Don't forget to visit Shan and Tam on all their social media websites. At Sisters Shan and Tam on Instagram, Shan Tam Lodge-Lee on Facebook, and check out their blogs at shanandtam.blogspot.com. Tune in again next time on Real Talk.